Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Spoilers, Recap, and Results. I am your host as always, PCJ the Pop Culture Junkie. We are just minutes removed from the ending of WWE Super Showdown that was held live in Saudi Arabia. The show started about 10 a.m. this morning, our time, for the kickoff, and then 11 o'clock was the main show. We had a lot of title matches, a couple of stipulation matches and such, but I'm not the biggest fan of these shows for a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to get into that. The show has ended, and oh, WWE, what are you doing? Vin Man, what are you doing? We know what you're trying to do, but we didn't think you'd actually do it, and you did. Oh my gosh, I have to say, I never thought 20 plus years ago, whenever Vince McMahon took the jump from being just your commentator and secretly the owner of the company, not secretly, but he just never made it obvious on the show until like the Montreal Screwjob time and all that. But never did I think that Vince would just spearhead idea after idea just because he is so stubborn and intended on getting something accomplished. But then again, we're in February of 2020 where he just brought back the XFL for its second try, so shouldn't be surprised anymore about what Vince McMahon does, but he still never ceases to amaze me. Let's get into the card, and let's talk about the matches, and we'll give you all the spoilers, and we'll recap the whole show. And then we'll get to the main topic at hand. So, starting off on the kickoff show, we have the opening match, Viking Raiders versus the OC of Gallows and Anderson. This was an okay match. Again, real quick, all these matches were okay. There was nothing stellar or amazing that took place as far as the match quality, because to me, this is just a gigantically over-glorified house show. It's the same kind of stuff you'd see if you went to a house show, except now you have pyro, a gigantic stage for them to come out on, and not your typical crowd, of course, for the show itself. So, kickoff show, we have the Viking Raiders against the OC. OC gets the win with the Magic Killer on Ivar. Again, it was an okay match. I think Ivar had the best presentation of the entire match. He got to do some good stuff. We go to the main show, and we start off with the gauntlet match for the Tuwaiq Trophy. Every time they go to Saudi or somewhere else in the Middle East for these Crown Jewels and Super Showdowns, they have some kind of big matchup, like the Greatest Royal Rumble, where Braun won the green title belt that we never see anymore. We haven't seen it since, and they even had a trophy then, and we haven't seen that either. They had the Greatest Battle Royal that Mansoor won, and I think he got a trophy. I could be wrong, but who knows. Then they had the Greatest Tag Team Trophy, and then they also had the Best in the World Trophy, which Shane McMahon won, and they did a whole story on. We had, they always have a trophy. And this time we had the Tuwaiq Trophy, and I wanted to look up what is Tuwaiq. It sounded like just a city, right? No, it is actually a narrow escarpment that cuts through the plateau of Najd in Central Arabia. WWE would repeatedly have Michael Cole say it was named after a mountain, so I don't know. But Michael Cole probably said the name of this trophy and tournament at least 15 times during the gauntlet match. So we start off, we have R-Truth versus Bobby Lashley. R-Truth came out, he sang his entire theme song. Lana did come out, yes. She's wearing a head wrap around her chin and her hair, covering her hair up, and then a giant gold robe that covered her from her neck all the way to her toes. But she just stood there at the top of the ramp, at the top of the stage, and whenever Lashley began walking down the ramp, she just went to the back. So that was it. She just showed up for that little bit. So we get R-Truth and Lashley get in the ring. R-Truth sidesteps as Lashley is running headfirst into a turnbuckle. He is then rolled up by Truth and gets a clean pin over Lashley. Lashley then attacks Truth afterwards and spears Truth. Now we have Andrade, the U.S. champ, coming out next, and he has just been cleared from his suspension. He was suspended for 30 days for violating the wellness policy. Storyline-wise, they had him get DDT'd on the exposed concrete about a month ago or so. That was to write him off TV. But he comes out, no Zelina Vega by his side at all, because I think Obviously, Aleister Black is not able to go to the shows because of his tattoos. So I'm guessing she's like, well, if my husband can't go, I'm not going to go. And I stand by that if that's the reason. I don't know. So as Andrade is making his way to the ring, the referee is tending to R-Truth, and you can see R-Truth has a cut on his left cheek. I don't know where he got that at one point, but probably during the attack that Lashley did. So Andrade gets flipped over the top rope, landing on his back. Looked painful. When he gets back into the ring, he goes for his spinning back elbow, but he and Truth kind of just collided with each other, and Andrade falls backwards first onto his back, and Truth is like covering his entire face, and he just falls onto Andrade, not knowing he's pinning him, and the ref counts 1, 2, 3, and Truth gets the win. So Truth is still in the gauntlet. Next out is Rowan, and he does carry out his cage. Truth and Rowan, they fight outside the ring. Rowan Irish whips R-Truth into the steel steps where Rowan's cage was on top, and the cage goes flying off of it. We don't get to see what's inside the cage, of course, still. But because of this, Rowan then grabs the steel steps, and he hits R-Truth with the steps, and he is disqualified. Next out is AJ Styles. At this point, R-Truth can barely stand. Styles, he just mocks R-Truth. He smacks him around, kicks him around. Doesn't go for the easy pin at all, just kind of taunts him the entire time. Finally, he applies the calf crusher, and R-Truth does tap out, though. We then get Rey Mysterio's music playing, and his Titantron plays, and no Mysterio comes out. They turn off everything, and then a few seconds later, they hit his music and everything again. And this time, we go backstage, and we see that Gallows and Anderson are beating the crap out of Mysterio, and he's laid out on the floor there. Styles then gets on the mic, declares himself the winner of the gauntlet because Mysterio can't make it out there, and he starts yelling at the ref to declare him the winner. But instead, the ref goes over to the ring announcer and says, ring announcer gets on the mic and he goes, okay, if AJ Styles' opponent cannot get to the ring by the count of 10, which, by the way, there's a long ramp they got to go down. They're not going to be more than 10 seconds just running it even. But if he doesn't get out there by the count of 10, then AJ Styles will automatically be the winner. We then go backstage again on the Titantron, and we see Gallows and Anderson laid out on the floor. The camera's aimed down at them on the floor. And then walking across the camera view is a pair of black boots and a trench coat. Someone dressed in all black and walks past them. And then we hear the gong. Out comes The Undertaker. So Undertaker makes his way out, and he takes a very long time. So, hey, the referee told the ring announcer, hey, if AJ Styles' opponent doesn't make it out here by the count of 10, then AJ automatically wins. I think it was about 2.5 minutes later that The Undertaker made it to the ring. So, technically, AJ did win, right? But, nope. Taker gets in the ring. It's Undertaker. He looks awesome as always. I'm glad to see Undertaker. I am. I love Undertaker. The bell rings. Taker does not even take off his jacket or hat. He grabs AJ, choke slams him, pins him, 1, 2, 3, and he is the winner of the gauntlet match, and he is your 2-weight trophy champion winner. But so this was the first time ever that we see AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, the Phenom versus the Phenomenal One. Yeah, they're going to obviously do something to where it's going to end up being a match at WrestleMania, but we just saw the match. Why do this? Why waste that? They could have easily just had Mysterio come out and AJ's like about to win, and then the gong hits and cause a distraction for AJ to lose, and then just give the trophy to Ray. You know, why do this way? It doesn't make sense to me. Next up, we have the SmackDown Tag Team title match with The Miz and Morrison versus The New Day. This match again was okay. It was your typical SmackDown Raw tag match. The Miz was on the outside of the ring at one point, and Kofi went for a trust fall suicide, but Miz moved out of the way just in time, and Kofi flat out just jumped over the ropes and landed flat on his back on the outside of the ring. That looked like it hurt. Miz then hits the skull-crushing finale on Big E for a close 2 count. Kofi then rolls up the Miz, but Miz kicks out, causing Kofi to go into the ropes, and just as he's doing that, Morrison is on the outside of the ring with a steel chair. He connects with a steel chair to the midsection of Kofi, and then Miz rolls up Kofi for the pin and win, and they are your new tag team champions. Backstage, we see Byron Saxton interviewing Seth Rollins and Murphy about their upcoming title match. Then we have Angel Garza versus Humberto Carrillo. Garza comes out first. Again, no Zelina Vega, so again, she's not there. Now, as Garza made his entrance, they showed highlights from the past few weeks of the events on Raw, and Zelina Vega is part of the storyline, but you could see that they cropped and zoomed in on parts of the video so that she was not shown on anything at all. Even in the video recaps, they did not show Zelina Vega. So this match was okay. I think they did a lot better on Raw when they've had their other matches. But Humberto goes for a sunset flip, but Garza drops to his knees onto Humberto. He's able to grab Humberto's legs, and he gets the pin. Very similar to British Bulldog, Bret Hart, SummerSlam 82, sunset flip, and then just drops down and pins him. Then we go backstage again, and Byron Saxton interviews Bayley. He asks her about, making history tonight, and she's like, I always make history. WWE Raw Tag Team title match. We have Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, or just Murph, versus the Street Profits. Rollins, he makes his entrance, and they did not put up the Monday Night the Monday Night Messiah logo or image on the Titantron. They just had Seth Rollins SR with the target moving around on the Titantron, and then the static play and whatnot. They didn't do any of that of the shirts. He wasn't wearing the shirt at all either, so I'm guessing it may have been something to do with a religious conflict or something, whatnot. So in the end, Dawkins is draped over the bottom rope, and Seth, who is on the apron, hits a curb stomp, and Murphy pulls him into the ring, gets the pin, and they retain their tag titles. Next up, we have a unannounced match, or maybe it was announced earlier this morning before the show, but it wasn't advertised beforehand. Dolph Ziggler versus Mansoor. And if you're not familiar who Mansoor is, he's the one that won a match against Cesaro at a previous Saudi show, and he was the one that won the, 50 men battle royal or something like that. But he's also the one that has wrestled a few matches on NXT, and he loses every match he has had on NXT. So he can win a match no matter what if it's over here, but if it's in the States, he can't win a match. This match, of course, was just a glorified, let's make Mansoor look good. Ziggler is, amazing at making anybody look good, so mission accomplished. Mansoor ends up getting the win after a moonsault. It was just a very predictable match, though. After the match, Mansoor cuts another promo, just like he did beforehand at other times, praising his hometown. And that was it. Then we have the WWE title match, Brock Lesnar versus Ricochet. Lesnar hits a few German suplexes, an F5, and pins Ricochet for the win. That is exactly what happened. Ricochet, when the bell rang, Ricochet ran at Lesnar to try to get some early offense, but as soon as he ran at him with an attempted drop kick, Lesnar just punches him down, just smacks him away, and then he hits a few Germans and F5, and that's it. Then we have a steel cage match, Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin. Yes, this feud is still happening. Ugh. Corbin comes out first, and he's being carried out on his throne. I felt bad for the guys that had to do that. They had to walk down that long ramp. It was a WrestleMania long style ramp, okay? Roman comes out next, and he's carrying a chain. He drops the chain so that he can do his fist cocking and then punching the floor. Well, punching the thick mat that they put there now. Why do they do that? If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch SmackDown and watch any pay-per-view recently, and you'll see as Roman punches the floor to set off, his little bit of pyro he gets, you'll see there is a mat now that they put there specifically for him to punch. Why does he need that? Can he not pull his punches to not slam your fist directly into a hard floor? I don't get it. So then he makes his way to the ring, he gets inside, and once he's in the cage, he uses that chain to lock the cage so that nobody can get in or out. Now, the ring announcer, when they were announcing this match, made it clear that you could win via pinfall submission or escape the cage and both feet touch the ground. So you can still climb over the cage. There's no roof, so I guess they didn't want the door to be open. But we'll get to that in a second. So midway through the match, Baron Corbin gets the key for the lock, which Roman had put in his pocket. So Corbin gets that out of his pocket, and Corbin removes the chain. But of course he doesn't get to use the chain on Roman. Roman fights it all away from him. Roman slams the cage door into Corbin's head, who completely no-sells it. He immediately gets right up and delivers a slam to Roman. Yes, he took a steel cage door slam straight to the face and completely no-sells it. has this guy never watched a War Games from WCW days or some Texas wrestling during the Freebirds Von Erich era, something? Oh. So they fight to the top of the cage, but neither one escapes. Corbin is then trapped between the ropes and the cage. Roman hits 2 Superman punches, wraps the chain around his fist, hits a third Superman punch, gets the pin and the win. Then we have the SmackDown Women's Title match, Bayley versus Naomi. This is the first time ever we are having a Women's Championship title match over in Saudi Arabia. So Naomi comes out in a full body leotard that covered her legs, arms, everything except her hands and her face. She's wearing an oversized t-shirt over this. And she is wearing her glow-in-the-dark jacket, which I was surprised. I didn't think she was going to come out with that. For her entrance, they had a huge techno-light show put on. I think there was some smoke or fog, but maybe I don't remember if there was pyro necessarily, but for whatever reason, there was a lot of stuff floating around in the air, so you really couldn't even see her for a little bit. Once she took her coat off, you could see the glow on her shoes, but that was about it. So then Bayley comes out. She is wearing a full black bodysuit, similar to what Natalya and Lacey Evans were wearing, and then just a blue t-shirt that said Bayley on it, and that was it. And they have a decent back and forth match, but nothing really wow. In the end, Bayley ties up Naomi's leg in her own shirt, and then she hits the forward DDT to get the pin and retain her title. Alright, this brings us to the main event. Final match of the night. Universal title match. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, versus Goldberg, WWE Hall of Famer, former WCW champ, and such other accomplishments and whatnot. Goldberg comes out first. He's led out by his entourage of security. He gets a big pyro display and gets to the ring. Next out, the Fiend comes out. He's got the Fiend title around his neck. He's carrying the head, the severed head lantern. Looks awesome. Gets in the ring. Goldberg and the Fiend have a stare down, and they walk up to each other in the middle of the ring and stare each other down. The Fiend then goes to take off his jacket, and just as he's about done with that, Goldberg just spears him where he stands. Goes for a quick pin, but the Fiend kicks out. So then the Fiend tries to apply the mandible claw, but Goldberg's able to fight it off. So Goldberg then hits 2 spears in a row, and then the Fiend again applies the mandible claw, but once again, Goldberg can outpower the Fiend. Goldberg hits a 4th spear, and then he sets up for the jackhammer. He barely got the Fiend over his head. It was a very sloppy suplex, and Goldberg had to just flip himself onto him as he was coming back down. He could not hold up the Fiend at all. It's not like 25 years ago when he jackhammered the Big Show, aka the Giant, and actually held him above his head and then flipped him. He did a worse jackhammer here than he did to anyone else I've seen. But he hits the jackhammer, goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Goldberg is your new Universal Champion, and he pinned the Fiend clean. This match was a matter of, 4 minutes? The Fiend fought Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell and had everything beaten down to him. He had chairs and tables and ladders and, just everything beaten and crushed on him, and he kept coming at him. Then we had a false count anywhere match of Rollins versus the Fiend, where the Fiend won the Universal title, and they fought and killed each other for over 20 minutes. But 4 spears and a jackhammer, and the Fiend loses clean to Goldberg. Wow. Oh, so, yeah. Before we get to the rest, so Goldberg wins. The ref hands Goldberg the blue Universal title belt, which I guess they already had at ringside, knowing, of course, Goldberg's going to win. Not the Fiend title, even though the Fiend came out with the Fiend belt. So Goldberg gets on the top turnbuckle, raises the belt, salutes, waves to the crowd, celebrates. The staging around the ring had monitors all around, so you could see, what was on the Titantron or what was being watched on the network. And you could see a monitor or a screen behind Goldberg where he's posing, and you could see that the Fiend is already standing up behind him ready, but the camera is just on Goldberg. So then Goldberg gets down, he turns around and sees the Fiend just staring at him, and we get the the laughter and the lights shut off, and then the lights come back on, and the Fiend has disappeared. He doesn't even do anything else to Goldberg. And then Goldberg just celebrates, raises the belt some more, and some pyro shoots off, and then that's it. The show's over. So, so they do all this Firefly Funhouse segments and skits. They do all this build up. They make the Fiend the unstoppable monster that no one can defeat, that no one can figure out how to beat or get one up on. And Goldberg comes in, and he hasn't wrestled since he wrestled against Undertaker, and they both almost killed each other. Prior to that, Goldberg hadn't wrestled since he lost the Universal title to Lesnar. Why do this? How do you expect to make new stars, and then you say, we don't have new stars, we got to keep getting the old people, or we got to keep relying on legends? Because you do stuff like this where you completely bury your new talent, or your new creative talent, or your new gimmicks, or your new ideas. What the hell is wrong with you, Vince McMahon? We have one of the best characters in a long time, and this is what you do? Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more to the Fiend. Yeah, but why this way? I'll tell you why. Because next pay-per-view is the Elimination Chamber. And we already have the participants that are going to be in the Elimination Chamber match. And the Fiend isn't one of them so far, unless they pull a switcheroo on us. But I'll tell you who is in the Elimination Chamber match. Roman Reigns. And guess what? That means we could have Roman Reigns against Goldberg at WrestleMania for the Universal title. Oh my God. That's just such a bad booking idea. But, that's what they're going to do. Oh, wow. Is there any way we can get a petition started up where I know people are going to be paying thousands of dollars to go to Mania, but if they put that match on last, can we get a thing going where everyone just says hashtag walk out on the main event, something like that, and everyone, literally right when they're doing the entrances, just the arena empties? That would be amazing. That would send a clear message finally. Hey, we don't want this. And hey, whatever you've been trying to do for the last 6 years now for Roman, it isn't going to work yet, and it still hasn't worked, and it's not gonna. Oh, okay. I got that off my chest. Okay. So there we have it. That was the full recap of Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. Like I said, glorified house show. Matches are okay. Nothing great. Nothing wow over the top, but they're just good. They're decent matches. And we did see some surprises, though, because we had title changes. You don't usually get that here, but we had new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, The Miz and Morrison, and we have a new Universal Champion, Goldberg. Okay, let's see what they do tomorrow. Hopefully everyone gets back to stateside safely. We don't have any issues like they had last time they were there, and we had some quote-unquote mechanical failures that delayed them. However, we did have the greatest SmackDown show ever because of this, so if they have to bring in a bunch of NXT guys and girls to make the show, possible tomorrow, I won't be complaining about that, but I do worry about everyone else being stuck over there if they have any issues again. Well, let me know what you thought about the show itself. Leave me comments below. Thank you as always for tuning in. I will be posting more predictions and more spoilers, recap, and results for future WWE Network shows. I'm always live tweeting during every WWE Network show, so you can follow along with me on Twitter at PopCultureJunk2. And thank you as always for watching. Well, take care, guys and gals. I will see y'all later. This is PCJ the Pop Culture Junkie, signing out.